All right. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to our first meeting. Welcome to the introductory class, our first meeting in the front-end class. I welcome you once again. My name is Suberu Adefolari Michael, and I'm a front-end developer and a mobile application developer. All right. So let's get into the business of the day. All right. Just give me a minute. Let me share my screen. All right. All right, so this is an introduction to front-end development and it's brought to you by Tech for All, which is making tech easy for everybody. All right, so for this class, these are the major topics we are taking. So we're taking HTML, we're taking CSS, we're taking SAS, we're taking Tailwind CSS, which is a CSS framework. We're taking JavaScript and React. React is a JavaScript framework. And we're taking Git and GitHub. All right, so these are the prerequisites for the course. You need a laptop or a desktop, a good internet connection, a text editor, and I recommend Visual Studio Code or VS Code for short. You need a GitHub account, you need Git, you need Node.js, and a Hashnode or Medium account. So this course, we're not all just about coding, we're also going to be doing a lot of writing. So you need Hashnode or Medium to document your progress. All right, so introduction to front-end development. So front-end development is a branch of tech that involves the creation of delightful websites and web apps, mostly the aspect where the users can see and interact with, that is the client side. So everything that your users see, the user can interact with, it can touch. So that is front-end development. And the front-end developer is responsible for building client-side applications using various technologies, most notably HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these are the three fundamentals of front-end development. We have a lot of tools, a lot of technologies, but everything revolves around these three. So if you know this three very, very well, you are really good to go in the field of front-end. And that's what we are really going to spend most of our time with in this course, the three pillars of front-end development. All right, so what are the responsibilities of a front-end developer? So yeah, they ensure that the websites provide a good user experience to users. So it's not just about creating beautiful websites, but where your users are using it, does it make sense? Do they enjoy using it? So you have to make sure that you implement a good UX. So they have to make sure that the website or web apps are accessible to all users. So there are blind people that cannot physically see your website and they use screen readers to access your website. So you have to make sure that these screen readers can access your website and print out the correct outputs to those using them. So you have to make sure that your website is usable, whether blind or can see. So they also ensure the company or brand they work for are easily accessible and known by taking advantage of data and web skills. Oh yeah, so this is where SEO comes in, search engine optimization. So you guys have to ensure that your company is well known, is visible. If I search for a company, can I easily find them? So as a website developer or a front-end developer, that is one of your responsibility. And they also release timely features as per business demand. So business demand, user requirements changes almost every time. So you as a developer, you have to make sure that you release features as per business demands. All right, so let us just have a short history lesson of how the web started. So the World Wide Web started it was created in 1989 by a British computer scientist, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. So it started as a project to solve the problem of information sharing encountered by various scientists using the lab where team worked. So in those days, there was not, imagine a time where there's no World Wide Web. So to share information was very difficult. If you're a scientist in Nigeria and you want to use a lab in Switzerland, you have to go there to Switzerland, get your result, and come back. There was no medium to share information. So team noticed that problem And that is the core, one of the core aspects of being a software engineer, problem solving. So you have to make sure that you're solving a lot of problems. So you created the fundamental technologies used in the web today, which is the HTML, the URL, Uniform Resource Locator, HTTP. He also founded the World Wide Web Consortium, short for W3C, in 1994, and remains director till this day. All right, so let us really go into HTML and see what it is. So HTML is the standard markup for creating web pages. It describes the structure of a website or a web app. And HTML consists of series of elements, which hold a particular meaning or information understood by the browser, which in turn display the information or content these elements represent. So you can imagine a human body. So your HTML can be likened to your skeleton. I know your skeleton, it gives you the frame of your body or an uncompleted building. So that structure without paint or windows, that base structure is just like the HTML of a website. So it gives the website the structure. And yes, this is a simple HTML document. You have the doc type HTML. This just informs the browser that, okay, this document type is of HTML. You have the HTML element, which is the root of your HTML project. Everything must be inside this HTML element. So you have the head. This is the opening tag of the head. This is where it closes. And we have a title element here. It just has a title page. Then you have the body element. So this body is where all your code will be written. Everything in the head is just for the browser, but mostly what we're going to be doing is usually we're related to dot is in the body, which is we have the H1 element, which is my first heading, and we have a paragraph. All right, so HTML is made of tags, tag names, and elements. An element can be described as everything from a start tag to the end tag. So everything from this H1 here all the way to this end is an element. So this is an H1 element. So this is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. While the tag name is this H1. This H1 is the tag name. All right, so HTML has three notable tags, namely the HTML tag, the head tag, and the body tag. So the HTML element is the root element of any HTML document. That is, this element, it contains every other necessary information for that particular project. So all the details of your project, the one in the head, in the everything must be contained inside of the HTML element. Then we also have the head elements. So these contain information that are required by the browser, such as meta tags, title, external links, styles, information and elements. Information and elements in the head do not appear to the user. So whatever is inside your head element, the users cannot see it. So we have the body element, and anything inside of this element is visible to the user. So that is where most of our code is written. And we just have two kinds of HTML elements. We have the closing element and the self-closing or empty tags. So the closing tags are tags that both have an opening and closing tags. So this is an opening tag. This is the closing tag. So this element is a self-closing element, is a closing element. It has both the opening tag here and the closing tag here. While self-closing or empty tags are tags that do not have a closing tag. Example is this BR. It closes here. It does not have opening and closing. It just closes. So this kind of tags, they do not contain content. An example is this one. You see, I am a software engineer. That is its content. But BR, there's no content there. All right, so talk is cheap. Show me some code. Yeah, this is from a senior JS developer. So I've just been talking and talking. Let us get into the code properly. So I believe by now we have our file VS Code installed. So I'm just going to open a recent file. Just click on this. All right, so this is a project. This is my folder, and this is how my VS Code looks like. But I believe for you guys, you probably don't have a folder. So let me just open a new window. So I'm just going to go to this file, new window. Let me click on it. All right, so this is a new window. So if you want to add a folder, you can just come to this file, open folder, click on it. So yes, you'll have created a folder already because this folder is going to contain all your codes. Everything is going to be inside of this folder. So let me just go to desktop. Let me look for a folder. I have a lot of folders here. Let me look for one. All right, so I've selected my front end folder. So if you want to create a file, you come to this place, new file, you click on it to create a file. So let me just call my file index.html. So the browser recognizes this index.html. This index is telling the browser that, all right, so this is the first thing I should serve to the browser, this index. So if you're using VS Code, before you can start typing your code, you have to generate a boilerplate. So a boilerplate is just a code that you just have to write so that your work can be done properly. But since I'm using VS Code, I don't need to type everything by hand. You just have to type HT. It's going to generate some options using Emmet, which is an IntelliSense provided by VS Code. So you click on HTML5 and it's going to generate this boilerplate code for you. So we've seen this before. So this is the doc type HTML. This is the HTML element that closes here. This is the language English. This is the head tag. This is the body tag. So for this head, we have these meta characters and we have the title, which is document. So all these are just necessary information needed by the browser. This one is telling the browser that, okay, it should take 100% of the user's size, device size. It should use the whole device width. All right, so we made mention of elements and tags. So this body, this is an opening tag, this is the closing tag. While together, they refer to the body element. So this is the opening head tag, this is the closing head tag. All right, so let us start writing some code. In HTML, everything is represented as elements or tags. So let us just consider HTML text. So how do we represent text in HTML? There are various ways you can write text, and we can start with the headings. So we have what is called headers in HTML, and they are represented with the H1 all the way to H6. So H1 starts for header 1, H2 header 2, H3 header 3, H4 header 4, H5 header 5, H6 header 6. Then we also have a P, which stands for paragraph. So this header is just like the biggest, it's just like the biggest text you find in any website. And this is usually in the first, when you open a site, the first thing you see, which is the header section. So that's where you usually use our H1. And we'll just see how it looks like. Let's just write some code. Let's say I just start with I love. Let me just copy this. See, paste it. So these are just ways to represent text in HTML. So let me save it. So we have I love coding from H1 to H6. H1 to H3 are the most commonly used. H4, H5, and H6 are rarely used. While this paragraph, we are going to use it a whole lot of times. So let us see how our website looks like in the browser. So you just have to close this. You go to where your folder is. I've opened it. You click on this, you right click, then open with any of your preferred browser. But Google Chrome is what I recommend. So you open it with Google Chrome. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So this is the H1. I love coding. This is H2, this is H3, H4, H5, H6, and this is the paragraph. If you notice, the H1 is the biggest, followed by the H2, then the H3, the H4, the H5, the H6, and the paragraph. So all these are predefined style. There's a styling for each of these. That's why this one is bigger than the others, but we're going to get into that later. So we've written our headers. So we also have different kind of tags. If you want to represent lists, we have ordered lists, we have unordered lists. So if you want to represent a list, you just use the UL. This UL stands for unordered lists, while OL stands for ordered lists. So if you want to work with lists, you can just click on it, just go in the middle, then start writing LIs. So LI stands for list items. So you can just say HTML. And remember, these are unordered lists. LI is a CSS, LI SCJS. While the OL, let's say, uh, React, let's say Node, and let's say Express. So remember, this is UL, unordered list. This is OL, ordered list. So that's how it looks like in our web page. Just go back and you click on this refresh. So this is our unordered list. We have HTML, CSS, JS. We have all these bullets. While for the ordered list, we have 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we spoke about closing tag and self-closing tags. So example of all these elements, they are closing elements, they have a closing tags, but there are some elements that are self-closing. Let us just consider an example. So I love coding. It is my passion. Then let's look at the BR tag, BR. So if you notice, it does not have a closing tag. So what does it represent? It represents a line break. You notice it does not accept contents either. But let's continue. I love coding, it's my passion. For Google or Microsoft. All right, so let's go back to our browser and reload and refresh. Remember, this is what we are writing. I love coding. Let us refresh. I love coding. It is my passion. I would love to work for Google or Microsoft one day. So if you notice, there's a kind of break. So that is represented by our BR. So it's just going to break whatever we're writing to a new line. So let me just correct all this. Let me put another break here, BR, save it, and we'll refresh. Can you see? It has broken the line to the next line once again. So that is an example of a self-closing tag. Let us consider another one. We have the HR. So this simply stands for horizontal row. It just gives an horizontal line. So let's save it. Refresh. This is it. So this is an horizontal row. This is how it looks like. So these are just few of the HTML tags that we have. We have a whole lot of tags. We have the div, we have section, we have header, we have footer. We have a whole lot of tags. Use tags elements to represent everything you need to do in HTML. So all these tags, especially the footer, header, section, they are all semantic elements. That is, they proclaim a meaning. They have a special kind of meaning. So the header, if you go to any website, the first screen that you see that introduces your website to you, that is the header. While the footer, that's what is usually below, where you have your links. You have some links at the end of the website. So that is your footer. A section is just a whole generic section of a document. So these are semantic elements. We'll get into that a bit later. So yes, this is just few of the things we'll cover today. In our next meeting, we are going to check much more elements, tags, and see what they represent. So today we've covered adding elements. We did H1 to H6. We did the P. We checked some closing and self-closing tags. We have an HR, which is self-closing. We have the BR, which is self-closing. We looked at lists. We have the UL, which stands for unordered lists, and the OL, which stands for ordered lists. So by our next meeting, we're going to consider a whole lot of tags and how we can start to give our HTML document, where we can give it shape. If we want to structure a website, how we can do that. All right, but before I go, there are some extensions you need to install. So what are extensions? Extensions are just little programs that help us in making our development workflow easier. So as you can notice, anytime I make a change, I have to go and refresh and continue refresh to refresh and refresh. So we have an extension that can help us with that, and that's Live Server. So Live Server. Just click on this extension marketplace. This is Live Server. Just click on this one. So you have it installed. You are going to install it. If you don't have it installed already, just install it here. I have it installed. So let us see Live Server in action. Let me close this. All right. So once you have it installed, it's going to appear here. Just click to run Live Server. So I'll click on it. So it's starting the Live Server and it's opening it on port 5500, 5500. So I'm going to go to my browser. Just go to localhost. The port was 5500. So this is it. This is what we are working on. This is it on this port. Now notice something. Let me just duplicate this URL. Let me duplicate this here instead. And let me paste it over here. You notice I've saved it. So what did you notice? It just came here automatically. I didn't need to refresh it. I didn't need to refresh my browser anymore just to look at it. So that's the power of Live Server. Instead of us having to refresh, you don't have to do that anymore. So another extension you should install is Prettier. So Prettier is a code formatter. So what it does basically is just to make our code looks nice. It's to make it look consistent. So kindly install this tool. We're going to install a whole lot more as we proceed, but for now, this tool is enough. Just click here and install. It will appear here. So this is Prettier over here. I have it installed already. All right, so that's going to be the end of today's class. In our next meeting, we're going to explore more HTML elements and how we can structure our website. So until next time, I say goodbye for now.